I've been thinking about this all day, and so I just want to go hit right now to the town of Calais and why Marine Le Pen has to be president of France. There's no Gert. You know, I don't feel like there was a huge loss there. I feel like they made gains.
Right.
But the French, and I got goosebumps right now. You have to have Marine Le Pen. You have to save your country. You will be overrun. Watch.
French presidential campaign ever.
The French port town of Calais is one of the hot spots of Europe's migrant crisis, and its mayor has now responded by banning food banks for newcomers. She insists the measure is necessary to maintain order.
It's not a directive against the distribution of meals, but against gatherings, because these lead to law and order issues, as well as security and waste problems. I took this decision to make sure that no permanent base or squad is created around Calais.
Well, look, she's trying to avoid another major jungle camp from sprouting in her town, essentially, before it was demolished late last year. Over the past couple of years, the Calais migrant camp had steadily grown into effectively a tent city. At its peak, the population was around 10,000 people. It had its own economy, it had makeshift shops, restaurants, even night.
We're going to go over, as you watch this, I want you to visualize the demographic and write down how many old people you see, how many children you see, and how many women you see.
Amongst these refugees.
Clubs and hairdressers.
And how many
and the process of demolition was extremely controversial. It attracted the international media. There were clashes between large groups of migrants and the police. There were rocks.
Men. Young men. We need to stop calling them migrants. Young, violent men.
Thrown, tear gas often deployed, and as you said, I've reported from Calais extensively, and I've seen with my own eyes the way in which the situation spiraled out of the authorities' control. Well, this is what part of the south side of the Calais jungle looks like, and those living just meters away are thinking about where to go next. Many refugees here are still desperate to get to Britain. That's why they're refusing accommodation in official asylum centres. Well, this is what's been happening throughout the day here. People have been taking their possessions, and if they are lucky enough to own or live in a caravan here that's been donated by volunteers, they're simply moving it from the south side. Authorities here are under pressure to show that they're cracking down on the now infamous tent city. But it's a problem that appears to be moving rather than going away. Well, the mayor's motivation in trying to introduce this new rule is almost understandable, because before it was dismantled, the camp was putting such an immense strain on her town. Calais is already one of the poorest areas in France. The migrants there were constantly putting out roadblocks. They were disrupting cross-channel traffic. It was resulting in accidents, and all that really impacted tourism and local business in the area, and it really divided the local population. It's left a lot of people increasingly anti-migrant and feeling quite fearful. But another portion of locals who see people that are destitute. And of course the issue is that migrants are still coming to Calais. And there's this sense that Calais' problems aren't going away. I've had many a private conversation with town officials, and they say that because of its location.
Look at all those women in there. I mean, look at all those.
Maybe the women aren't allowed to come out, and all the kids and all the women have to stay in the tents 24/7.
Calais will always be a problem spot, and all they can do is try to mitigate these problems as best they can.
So-called no-go zones, where it's too dangerous to...
We'll hit that in Sweden in a minute, but I just brought up a couple articles because I was wondering, why did they actually, when they dismantled Calais, they gave everybody the opportunity to try to seek asylum in France, and they didn't want to. Where did they want to go? Any of our UK viewers want to ring the bell on that one? Ding, 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 ding. They wanted to go to your country. They didn't want to stay in France. They wanted to go to your country. All of these migrants, one in Britain, all of them, they want to go to your country.
Which is why Brexit is such a sweet victory.
Now, some of the answers are because they speak English there, they have family or friends there already. What does that tell you? They say that it's actually hard to get asylum in France, except for they will put them up. The more I was watching and I was kind of looking at this, I was watching and seeing what was going on. You've heard about the lorries and the truck drivers being. This poor Ethiopian actually was recently run down in Calais after hundreds returned to the port town. Finally, someone actually was killed in this area. And I was looking at these pictures over and over and over again. It just boggles my mind because we saw the video of the North Korean girl as she was trying to escape.
Right.
Kim Jong-sung. And the dictatorship. When the Titanic was sinking, the men on the boat stayed on the boat.
To make sure that the women and the children could go
And they
first.
put the women and children. The cowards jumped into the boats.
Right.
And there are people who desperately need out of
These
their-
war-ridden Middle Eastern and South African countries.
And more importantly, there are, and I hit this in the other one, you can't take everyone from the whole continent of Africa. You can't take everyone from the Middle East, okay? But you have to think smart. You have to think, who really needs my help? You as an individual, who really needs my help?
Right.
Right? And I guarantee you, unfortunately for males, it's the difference between being male and female.
Which, unfortunately, the feminists have lost this ideal.
Which is why the feminists are drawing in the only demographic that they should not let in.
Right.
The only demographic are
The young
healthy young males.
Right.
Because I don't care if you're from a stupid war-torn country. I don't care if you're being blown up in Iraq. You're a man. Deal with it. Deal with it. Suck it up, buttercup.
Here's the perk of not being a feminist. You get to say stuff like that.
I don't care. You are a man. You stay in your country. You fight your country. You help your own country.
Boom.
That's what you do as a male. When you leave your country as a male, you are a coward.
Unless, and I'm going to interject here, unless you are going with your family.
Right.
If your family is going, then go. Stay with your family because you need to be there as the protector, the provider, you know, where you're going to.
There are exceptions to every rule, okay? Where there's Christians in and Christians are a minority in a Muslim
Right.
country,
Right.
we gotta let them in,
Yeah.
okay? But there's no Christian country, a majority Christian country, that is persecuting Muslims. You think that
Very
Trump
good
is,
point.
but there's right now the only people persecuted in this world are Jews and Christians and Yazidis and to a lesser extent Muslims, okay? And within their own country, within their own laws, okay? We
Right,
have
they
to.
don't-
Peanut
Peanut.
gallery.
The Muslims, their religion teaches them to fight each other.
Right.
So don't leave their country, change their religion. But as long as your religion teaches you to fight, don't expect asylum, change your religion.
Exactly. There are Muslims who become Christians. Bring them in. Bring them in because they will be killed.
Right.
But you know what? We need to bring in the weakest. And I know that a lot of people, that's what a refugee is for. There's a difference between refugees and immigrants. All right?
We keep covering this. I'm sorry, guys. because
Immigrants
some people
come
just
in-
don't get it.
Immigrants come in because they actually have something of value. They're not supposed to be on the system.
Right.
A refugee is somebody like the girl we saw, the North Korean girl.
Coming in with nothing.
And who is fleeing a horrible, horrible situation. And if the people in Calais and the people opening their arms in Germany were opening their arms to people fleeing North Korea, I'll send you my own money. Okay? Bring them to my country. Okay? I will. Those are the refugees that we want.
Yes.
Okay? People fleeing, but not people, unfortunately, with an ideology that means that you kill Jews and Christians.
And homosexuals.
And homosexuals.
Here's the difference too, because Leah didn't cover this. The difference between the Muslims that do get persecuted, I will say, here and in other countries, there is a persecution there, but no one's killing you.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody is killing you, but Christians, homosexuals, Jews, they are being killed because of their religion, because of their status in life, because of who they are. They're being killed. The Muslims, by and large, there's fights between Muslim countries, right? But it's not because you're Muslim and I'm not Muslim. It's just because they're fighting a war, essentially.
Assad's war in Syria.
Right? They're fighting a war, but
Is Muslim on Muslim.
When Muslims come against Jews to kill them, that's not a war, because the Jews aren't fighting back. They're just trying to stay alive. Right. There's a big difference.
And the whole point, what made my blood boil today, and it just was like, duh. These guys have to all be turned back. It just kept going over and over and again. These men are not only they're cowards, but they are dangerous.
Yes.
You've seen what they can do. You've seen how they flood the streets.
Mm-hmm.
This is a Friday in Paris, filmed by hidden camera. The streets are blocked by a huge crowd of Muslim worshippers, and it's enforced by private security. This is all illegal in France. The public worship, the blocked streets, and the private security. But the police have been ordered not to intervene. It shows that even though some in the French government want to get tough with the Muslims and ban the burqa, other parts of the French government continue to give Islam privileged status. An ordinary French citizen who was watching the Islamization of Paris decided that the world needed to see what was happening to his city. So he bought a hidden camera and started posting the videos on YouTube. His life has been threatened, and so we're concealing his identity. He uses the alias of Maxime Lepant.
They are blocking the streets with barriers. They are praying on the ground, and the inhabitants of this district cannot leave their home nor go into their home during those prayers.
Right now.
The Muslims who are taking over the streets do not have any authorization. They do not go to the police headquarters, so it's completely illegal.
These Muslims have been granted unofficial rights that no Christian group is likely to get under France's laïcité or secularism law.
So it says people have the right to share any belief they want, any religion, but they have to practice at home or in the mosque, synagogues, churches, and so on.
Some say these Muslims must pray in the street because they need a larger mosque, but Maxime has observed cars coming from other parts of Paris, and he believes it's a weekly display of Muslim power.
They are coming there to show that they can take over some French streets, to show that they can conquer a part of the French territory.
If France faces an Islamic future, it took a Russian to write about it. It's the best-selling novel, The Mosque of Notre Dame, 2048, a bestseller in Russia, not in France. The French publisher, Jean Robin, says the French media ignored the book for being politically incorrect.
So Islam is seen as the religion of the poor people. And so you can't say to the poor people, you're wrong, otherwise you're a fascist. That's how it goes.
Wow. So, here's the thing, you guys. These men are coming in, and like I've said before, there's the Africans that are coming up and the Middle Easterns that are coming up. And it's a giant mess. And we saw the weapons yesterday. Guess where the weapons are headed? To these men. Okay? So, anyways, the one thing that I kept saying over and over again, the men have to go. The men have to go. The men have to go. These men, they don't deserve migrant status. They don't deserve refugee status. This is chivalry at its worst.
It's not even chivalry.
This is not chivalrous to bring it in. It's the feminists, the twisted mind. We've got transgenders everywhere. No offense, but it's on the rise. It's a little bit wrong. It's a little bit too much, okay? Everything is black is white, white is black. You have no gender. You're not allowed to.
The Bible's very clear about this. It says that, woe, in the last days, they will call evil good and good evil. That's what we have
So the
happening right now.
feminists are bringing in the evil people. They're bringing in evil people who don't deserve it. When you have a child, there's a good cake on the table, and it's somebody's birthday, and you have the one kid who dives in and steals it and takes it from everyone else. It's like the mom who sits down and says, okay, you can have it. And all the other kids are sitting around like, what's going on? No, he really wanted it. Did you see how bad he wanted it? He burned things down to get it.
I want to bring the voice of our viewers.
He got on the truck to get it.
For a minute, because I know a lot of our American viewers who we love kind of ask us, why are you guys covering different things constantly? Farage, Le Pen, Geert, the things that are happening in Europe, in the UK. Why are we covering this here in the United States? We're covering it because it exposes the global agenda that they are trying to accomplish in the entire world, and especially in the United States of America. It is very important that as Americans we wake up to this and we don't stick our heads in the sand and say it's not happening, because guess what? It is happening, and this is why
Linda Sarsour, the whole feminist movement is all a Islamic
they're
movement.
in cahoots ridiculously with Muslims, and it doesn't make any sense because feminists are all about women's rights and Muslims are all about no women's rights whatsoever. Like, they literally are the most misogynistic religion out there.
Somebody had asked me, because I Googled something at one point and there was a bunch of images. And they said, put it in why don't you put it in a slideshow? But since I want this to be a visual for you and I don't really have time to do this, hang on, I want to Google this for you. It's women abused by Islam. Okay? Google it yourself and you can look at the images. Now, when I looked at this woman should be allowed in to your country. This woman should be allowed into your country. This woman should be allowed into your country.
And
this
help.
woman's not going to make it because she's dead. Okay? This woman, that child's not going to make it because they're dead. And I could just go on and on and on. Because not only do they damage these women, they set them on fire. They take pictures of it. They take videos of it. These are the people that you should be allowing into your country, and even with their Muslim faith.
Yes. 100% yes.
If somebody if this has happened to them, I guarantee you they're not going to become radical Islamic terrorists. Okay? So when I look at these pictures, women who have been forced into marriages and
Right.
these are the people, these are the Muslims, because I don't want to say all Muslims bad, but, right? Young male Muslims, you don't get to come. And I know that sounds incredibly racist. You don't get to come. You got to stay, you got to fix your country.
Unless you have a
problems.
family, we'll add that.
Well, if they did this to your wife or
yeah.
your sister.
And I know this video is getting really long and we should wrap it up, but I want to add a little personal touch because in America, we really have had our heads in the sand. And
Sure.
I was thinking about this the other day, and when I was growing up, I remember watching 60 Minutes programs and just different programs where I would hear 2 or 3 different times I saw different programs where a woman would say that she was from a foreign country. I was a kid when I was watching this. I couldn't remember where it was from. She was from a foreign country, and she had, and I'm hearing all of these awful things about her life there. Like, let's say it was an American woman or whatever, and how she wasn't able to get her children to America, and she was trying to rescue them and get them, and she's trying to get the United States government to help
an
her.
American who married an Iraqi or an Iranian, because they're not allowed to have custody.
And then they go over there, and then they're just, oh my gosh, they wake up to how evil it is, and then they try to get out in this underground railroad, and they can't ever get their kids again. And as a child, my heart broke for these women. And it boggled my mind. I couldn't understand how could it be that our American government would not help this woman get her children back. And for years, like literally until my mid-20s, I did not understand that I was literally watching a woman who had married into the Muslim faith. I didn't know. I didn't put the two and two together. And I kind of wonder if the program didn't even highlight that, because you just can't. I don't know. I can't remember. I was a kid. But the point is that even as a child, I understood how wrong that was. That was happening to that woman, and that whoever or wherever or whatever that was, that religion, that country was awful.
Right.
Okay, even as a child, I knew that. So now that I'm an adult and I look around and I see all these people that have no clue, they're just like, oh, the Muslim faith is just a, very innocent type religion, and they just are good people. And listen, there are good Muslims, okay? But most of them aren't, because they're following the belief of Islam and the Quran. And when you follow the belief of Islam and the Quran, that is the path. This is the path that it leads you to. It only goes one place. Okay?
Right. People say that that's not in the Quran. Of course this is all in the Quran. Of course this is all in this Quran.
This is how they
a
get away
man
with
should
it.
not be questioned why he hit his wife. I mean, it just goes on and on and on. I mean, there was a sign I saw where it said, "Go to Finland, where you're allowed to rape women." It was in like an African village with like
Right.
African drawings.
Yeah.
So there are people who are being persecuted, and they just hit me. Send the men back.
Yeah.
Send them all back. Send the boys back. 16 years old, and I mean, you can tell. They hit puberty. Send them back. I don't care. Send them all back. You've hit puberty. You're going back. You're all going back. If you're going to bring refugees in, refugees, mind you, they better have a reason, a real reason for coming.
Okay.
And send them back.
I think that wraps it up. This is Leah Michelle signing off.
It's
for
not
Resistance
racist.
Chicks.
It's not racist. It's male.
Okay.
This is not man hating. Okay. This is, I gotta tell you.
No, this is actually giving men what they're due. They're stronger. They're more well equipped to be able to handle these sorts of things.
Hunt
God
or
is giving you the gifts.
something.
Yes.
Build your house.
Get your manliness.
Be a man.
Don't just be like, I'm a refugee.
Stop being babies. And
All right, the peanut
Wait.
gallery has one thing to add before we sign
Well,
off.
the
for this.
reason it's not as bad so far here is because we have a Second Amendment. We all carry guns, especially with Obama.
We also
gun
have
sales
an
went through
ocean.
the roof.
Well, yeah, there is.
Well, we have lots of Muslims here, but
Right.
they're not coming out as strong because we all carry
would
guns.
fight back.
We
Right.
carry guns.
American
a friend
men-
of ours who we never thought would have a gun just got a gun permit.
Right.
A gun carry.
Oh yeah, a
Concealed
friend of
carry.
ours just got a gun and got
Somebody
a
you would never expect. Everybody's getting them.
Americans, we own our guns. And here's the thing, I know in the UK you're like, we're good without our guns. We're good with our guns. Why? Because we know that one day we might need to protect ourselves from our very own government. That's what actually our Second Amendment is about.
Yes.
It's not about hunting. It's not about protecting yourself. Our Second Amendment is so that we might be able to protect ourselves from our own government.
And the
Exactly.
British people and the French people and the Netherlands, we might need to send them some guns to protect themselves from their government.
I know you guys don't want our guns, but you know what? We love you guys, and if you need it, we
But
might
their
send them.
government is their enemy. Their governments tell
Right.
police to stand back.
Our Constitution and our Founding Fathers, a lot of our states' constitutions, and you guys may not be aware of this, is we are actually supposed to have constant standing militias. And if you're not aware what that is, that's just a group of people that are armed and ready to fight should the need arise,
Your
either
government
for
turns
our
on you.
government or against our government. And we've lost that. We've got some that are rising. All right, we gotta.
Don't trust your
Okay.
government. Your government's letting all these people taken over by Muslims.
Okay, we have to sign off, guys. I know this is really long. This is Leah Michelle signing off for Resistance Chicks, where it's not a conspiracy theory. If it's the truth,
That
don't
one
forget
was
to like,
so
comment, and
excited
subscribe
about this one.
to Mass Faith 3 and Resistance Chicks. Ring the bell for notifications and find us on Facebook and Twitter.
My blood was boiling all day
Listen,
about
you guys,
this.
I understand you guys in the UK and other states where you don't have like our Second Amendment, you can't have guns, and you're very happy with that. Okay, that's fine. We understand.
But
I have
they
heard
just
your
had
arguments.
that
They're
cache
valid
in
arguments.
Spain. And those were headed to dudes, man. All those weapons were headed to dudes, and you never know when you might be called upon.
Right.
And your baseball bat's only going to go so far
Yeah. Exactly.
against a bad guy.
All right, you guys, we love you. God bless.
Take up some arms.
I was called